This is a must-watch video. In a minute, I got Andrew Lawton with me answering your questions about the C9 situation here. Our emails are blowing up with people that are getting pushback or some pushback. Most people are just leaving messages, but some of y'all are getting some pushback when you're talking to members of parliament or their staff members, and you have some questions. So I tapped Andrew. He made time in his very busy schedule today to hop on with me and make sure that your questions get answered. But before we dive into that, no matter where you're watching this from, please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button, maybe comment in the feed, because that kind of bumps us up in the algorithms, makes it a little bit easier for this information to get out, and share this with your friends. All right, well, I've got none other than Andrew Lawton with us, the myth, the man, the legend. You are there in Brampton right now getting ready for a rally. You're traveling across Canada. What's this all about right now, Andrew? Quick soundbite, and then I'm going to dive into what we're going to talk about right here.
Yeah, we are just taking a stand and showing the Liberal government the Canadians are taking a stand for religious freedom. This is all to raise awareness, answer questions, and raise the political pressure on the Liberals to pull this divisive and toxic Bill C9 and actually protect communities from hate in a way that does not infringe on those very communities' right to express deeply held religious beliefs.
Okay. I've got so many questions for you. I'm going to restrain myself, though, because my inbox has questions. Okay. Every time I hit send receive right now with our work with For My Canada, of course, those of you that are watching this right now, will know that For My Canada is a political action organization serving the faith community across our nation, specifically in the area of ABCs and civic engagement. So we've been encouraging people to call our members of parliament, and people have been reporting back to us, Andrew, how many calls they've been doing. It's been really fun to see that interaction. People are actually kind of getting hooked on this. They're realizing they have a voice, and as of right now, we're almost up to 15,000 phone calls that have been made in 5 days. So a lot of people. But I'm getting emails and people are asking questions because they're bringing their concerns to various members of parliament. And then some of those members of parliament are pushing back. And so they've got some good questions. So people are asking, I want to let you answer these questions. But first of all, I got to read this one. I literally just got this one. She said, well, I made some phone calls today. Bleep was the last one. I won't disclose names because I don't want to be too feisty here. She said, I didn't get any answers, so I left messages. Well, a few minutes later, this member of parliament called back and he wanted to know how I got his number. Am I working with an organization? Because he's getting lots of calls and they all seem to be saying the same things. He wanted to know where I was getting my info, blah, blah, blah. Through the course of our conversation, he asked me if I was a born-again Christian. And I said, well, yes, I am. And he said, well, I am too. And then Andrew Lawton's name was brought up. And I said, yes, I know him, yada, yada, yada. And then he proceeded to tear apart Andrew. And I let him go on and on and on and needed to end the conversation because it was for about 13 minutes. He went on and on about Andrew Lawton. I interrupted him and said that I needed to end the conversation because it's very obvious that we're not on the same page. I thanked him. Our people are so nice. I thanked him for taking the time to call me back, for his service to the community and our country. And he told me that he's going to call back every single person that left a message on his answer machine about C9, and apparently you're on blast. So
well, if 13 minutes of material about me is part of the Liberal response to Bill C9, they really don't have much going there. The fact
politics is not for the faint of heart. But
yeah, the fact that call took place is a really good sign. It means that no matter how frustrated we are with what the government is doing, our messages that people are sending to government are actually reaching where we need them to reach. So I think, my ego can take a bit of a hit there. I think it's encouraging that conversation is happening.
Yeah. And I'm just so touched by these people that are just really going that extra mile. Many people are really stretching themselves because they really care about this issue. Okay. Some of the things that we're hearing back is different offices are saying, listen, religious freedom is protected in the charter. So even if C9 passes, it's literally a nothing burger when it comes to your sincerely held faith beliefs, because if this goes to court, the charter will protect you. How do you respond to that? Is this a nothing burger? Why then the amendment?
So a couple of things there, and it's a very good question that people are raising here. The charter protects religious freedom, but the charter is only as valuable as the institutions around it, including government and the courts, and their willingness to uphold those values. And I'll give a very recent example of this. The Federal Court of Appeal ruled last week that the Liberal government violated the Constitution in invoking the Act. And the decision was a very important decision. It didn't prevent that violation from taking place. It just recognized it after the fact. So a charter protection may be helpful in dealing with some of these issues in the courts, but it won't prevent people from having their religious freedom violated in the moment. That's the first thing. Number two, the act of removing this defense from the criminal code, which is what C9 will do now, of removing the defense that specifically protects religious communities from prosecution for sincerely held beliefs expressed in good faith. By removing that, you are sending a signal not just to law enforcement, but also to the courts that religious speech should not be protected. By removing it, you're saying that you don't believe this defense should be there for people expressing religious belief. How could that not infringe on constitutional religious freedom protections?
Okay, thank you. Very well put. The other thing that is coming through the phones is people are saying this is all your fault, meaning the conservatives. There's one Liberal member of Parliament that I spoke to, actually was his assistant. He talked to me for about 20 minutes. And he said the reason that the Liberals had to band together with the Bloc is because the Conservatives are refusing to support critical legislation that will crack down on crime. So some of the other bills that are in the queue. And they're saying because the Conservatives won't dance with us on these other bills, we're having to strike a deal with the Bloc on this amendment, and it's all the Conservatives' fault. What's your response to that one?
So this is so demonstrably false for two main reasons. Number one, we were actually calling on the government to make bail reform its first priority as far as criminal justice is concerned. We were saying your first priority as a government should be to keep Canadians safe. You should be putting bail legislation forward. And they didn't do that. C9 was their first justice bill. The second thing is that there is a justice bill that is on bail behind C9 in the queue. We tried, I think it was about 20 times in the last week the House was sitting in December, at the Justice Committee to get the Liberals to agree to let us prioritize the bail bill, to let us start work on the bail bill immediately, understanding that there's far more consensus around dealing with that than there is around Bill C9. And the Liberals refused. So they actually blocked our efforts to deal with bail, understanding the divisiveness around Bill C9 and the fact that there just was not consensus. And this is something that you can see for yourself by watching those committee meetings. We were asking time and time again for hours on end for unanimous consent, because that's what you need to change the committee schedule, to look at Bill C14, which was the bail bill, and the Liberals were the ones standing in the way of that.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And you're right. I actually watched those committee meetings myself and saw it all in action in real time. Here is another. This is actually a form email that I got sent to me. And it is a member of Parliament's office saying that all of these conditions must be met for an individual to be convicted under the provisions outlined in C9. The individual must be acting in a public setting. It must be willful. There must be intimidation involved. There has to be a hatred component. And then they talk about that it also could or would involve a symbol being expressed as a part of a specific, and this is a part of a specific closed list of symbols that are already pre called out. Is this true? Like I remember I watched the questioning between you and Minister Fraser, where you were asking about social media posts, for example. We talked about that on another interview. So is this true? Would all of these things need to be checked off for somebody to be prosecuted?
So they're muddling different parts of the bill in that answer. The section dealing with hate symbols is a different part of it. When we're talking about the section that is connected to the religious defense in particular, it is willful promotion of hatred. But what's missing from that answer is that the Liberals are changing the definition of hate in Bill C9. They're actually changing a long-established definition that the Supreme Court has used that has a very high bar, and what they're replacing it with lowers the threshold considerably. So yes, we are talking about extreme cases here. We're not talking about, nor have my conservative colleagues and I ever said that this is going to just run around and result in pastors being arrested for quoting John 3:16. It's not not like that, but we are talking about in those edge cases where someone wants to claim that a religious belief expressed in good faith is hateful. We now have this new definition of hate that every witness who testified before the Justice Committee acknowledged lowers the standard from what we have in law now. So more things will be classed as hate speech if C9 passes than are classed now.
Okay. What are some other clarification, possibly misinformation points that you're hearing from people as you're getting feedback that you'd like to address?
The biggest one that is coming up is this idea that you just trust us. That's not what's happening. Just trust us. We'll respect your right to religious freedom. And I'll say that religious freedom, if it's to exist in Canada in a meaningful way, doesn't just need to live in the Charter, but needs to be embedded in all things government does, embedded in all other areas of law. So if we have religious freedom in the Charter, it should make it more important to protect religious freedom in other statutes, including the criminal code. And this religious defense, I tell people time and time again, it's not a get out of jail free card on any criminal act if you say that you had a faith justification. It applies very narrowly, and it only applies when people are expressing a religious belief or citing a religious text in good faith. So because of that, the only people that lose the benefit of this protection are people who were expressing religious beliefs in good faith on issues that are potentially contentious in society and for which someone would want to claim it's hateful. And we've seen this play out in numerous situations in Canada.
Let's talk about the Mark Miller comments. I spoke with one office where I brought this up and I said, okay, we've got statements from the former chair of the Justice Committee saying that he believes that there are at least 3 books of the Bible, 2 of those in the Torah as well, that if people read them publicly, presumably, that they should be charged criminally for hate speech. And this office pushed back and they said, well, that was just Mr. Miller's personal opinion. That's not actually in the law. And so Mr. Miller can just have his own personal opinion, but it doesn't have any teeth. Is that true in your understanding?
Well, I believe that it was Mark Miller, or Minister Miller, I should say, his personal opinion. But I think that is in and of itself valuable. He is a member of the cabinet in Canada. He is someone who was actually promoted after he made that comment from his previous post. And I think it signals where some Liberal members of Parliament are, including at the high reaches of the government, on matters of faith and on religious expression. And at the very least, it shows that there is a divergence in personal opinion on this. So how are Canadians supposed to trust that someone who is adjudicating a complaint against a minister who quotes that is going to have one view that may or may not align with Mark Miller? So I think it brings us back to the core point here, which is how much ambiguity and gray area we've put into this, where he can make the claim that there's no way you could be quoting in good faith any of these verses of scripture that he's designated as being, as he says, inherently hateful. So that in and of itself proves that these things mean different things to different people.
So people are making phone calls literally right now. I know there are thousands of people across Canada that have actually put it in their personal, to-do list every single day to make at least 5 phone calls. It's happening right now. If you had to just distill this down and say, okay, if you make 1 or 2 points when you're talking to a member of Parliament about why this is a bad bill, why the amendment was bad, wrong bill, wrong time, what would be those 2 to 3 most important PowerPoints that you would suggest?
Number one, I would point to the nearly unanimous condemnation by representatives of pretty much every faith group in this country, not just Christians, not just Protestants. It's been Catholics, Protestants, faith denominations that are traditionally more progressive, Jewish organizations, Muslim organizations, Sikh and Hindu organizations. All of these people can't be wrong when they're looking at this legislation and seeing something that will infringe on their right to practice their faith freely and in accordance with their values. So I think that's number one. And the second point is that when we are talking about policing deeply held religious convictions, philosophical convictions, even political opinions, we need as much certainty and as much clarity as possible and as much protection for the broad range of views that need to exist in a free society.
All right. Well, you are there in Brampton tonight. What time does the meeting start this evening?
It starts at 7 o'clock, and we have some other meetings that we're doing right before and right after. So it's a bit of a busy day, and I apologize now, even where the only place I was able to join has a bustle of activity going on. But
Yeah.
I thought it was important to connect with you. It's always a pleasure, and I wanted to just thank you and the people that are working with you and supporting you in taking the stand you are, because this is grueling and it is working, and we've got to keep it up, because the Liberals, again, when they're talking about me for 13 minutes on the phone, they're clearly frustrated with what's going on here. But I think that's all the more reason why we need to dig in and make the case, as we're doing at our town halls across the country, that religious freedom is non-negotiable in Canada.
Yeah. And I must admit, when I read that email about the 13 minutes, I thought, oh wow, Andrew, man, this is
I have a
brutal.
suspicion of who it is, but I'll have to confer with you
Yeah, I
offline
won't
and see
out
if.
them. But we've actually had other people now saying that as soon as they say, I'm calling about C19 or C9, excuse me, it's click, that like people are
Wow.
literally getting hung up on now by member of parliament's offices. That's not okay. If any of you member of parliament offices, staff are watching this, this is just not okay. These are Canadians who pay tax and their voice matters just as much as your opinion. So, okay. So you're going across the nation right now. You've got some stops coming up in BC, Vernon, Abbotsford, Surrey, Langley. Where can people find you, track with you, and maybe
Yeah,
get
so if you go to my website, andrewlawton.ca/tour, we have all the dates there. And I think you also shared on social media the list as well. Do register. We're running into problems where we're having to change venues a few times over, because more people are signing up for these than we expected. And in one town, we are in the biggest venue in the town already. So I'd recommend RSVPing, so you can make sure to be there. But it shows how many people are resonating with this message. So there's something very valuable in this.
Yeah, important to RSVP. It sounds like it's important to show up early if you want to get a
Yeah,
chair. So
especially for parking. We had an event in London on Sunday. We had over 300 people there, and I think a lot of people in the end just gave up because they couldn't find a parking spot. So where we are right now has a ton of parking. We're good here.
wow. Well, no rest for the righteous. And you are in that category right now. Andrew, thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for making yourself so accessible, because I have had some people saying, like, I want to keep making calls, but I'm kind of getting nervous now because of the pushback, and I feel like I need some answers. So I think this interview
Yeah.
will really help a lot of people. Any final remarks?
No, just thank you. Again, this is an effort that is a team effort. It's people across the country that care about freedom and faith, and I'm just so appreciative that so many people are doing this, because it would be a lonely battle otherwise. So thank you.
Okay, and we're praying for you, and we're praying for all members of parliament. We just held a prayer meeting this morning with people from all across Canada, praying for members of parliament from every party to really have wisdom to make decisions that will benefit all Canadians in this moment of our history. Thanks for joining me today in your busy schedule there.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for watching as well. I hope that answered several of your questions out there, but just want to say this, just do it. Just keep going. Your phone calls really are making a difference. They're getting noticed, and it will have an impact. And on the end of all of this, no matter what happens, I'm starting to get faith. I'm starting to get an increase of faith feeling here that this could really be the change moment that our nation needs on this issue. But no matter what happens, we want to know at the end of all this that we can look ourselves in the mirror and look our kids and grandkids in the eyes and say that we did everything that we could in this consequential moment for our nation. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciate the hard work of For My Canada, we would sure appreciate your support. Simply swing by our website, formycanada.com, where you can give securely online. We do use the Zephy platform, and I want to say this, if you don't want to donate to Zephy, you don't have to. They have this little option at the bottom because they're a free platform. So just make sure you check that one off if you don't want to make that additional donation to Zephy, to the platform. If you do, then just keep it on. But we sure appreciate your support because it keeps us going. This information is free for you to access, and our team serving you behind the scenes is all free for you, but it's not free for us. We do have to pay the bills in order to stay at it. So thank you so much for your support. Thanks for tracking with us. And hey, remember, the nation goes to those who show up. Thanks for being all in.